Good afternoon. Good afternoon. This is Nina, and I entitled this video live stream How to Prevent Triggers from Turning into Episodes. And what I'm going to discuss is just that, how to prevent a trigger from going into an episode when you have a mental illness like myself. Every video that I put out, I'm always going to make the statement, my name is Nina, and I have bipolar disorder. Now, last night was a really bad night. I was dealing with a domestic violence issue at home where an altercation broke out between two men that I love the most in the household, my husband and my son. My husband was drunk, and my son had just got off of work, so he was tired. He put in a long day. He had a long weekend. So it was about roughly 10 p.m., way past my daughter's bedtime. My daughter is 6, by the way. And I'm hearing this thumping noise upstairs. And then my son comes out the room and said, "What's all that noise?" I said, "I don't know. I think it's your sister. Go check on her." So he goes into her room and he says, with authority, because he does have authority over his sister, because I gave him that authority. He's an adult. So he said he told me that he told me to keep it down. And then that ignited my husband's anger. He was already drunk, so he was 10 times as angry. And he started spiraling out of control. He charged into my son's room. And I'm coming up the stairs. I said, "So you don't," he says to him, did you cook? Did you clean? Did you do all those things this week? I mean, stuff that had nothing to do with the argument about my daughter doing her yoga and being up past her bedtime. I mean, the whole moral of the story was she was making too much noise. She had to keep it down. My husband was like, "I want to tire her out so she could be well rested to go to sleep." Both were right, but it was just who was more wrong. In this case, it was my husband, because he was drinking. He came charging at my son. He said, he kept yelling at him, "Do you cook? Do you clean? What the F do you do? Blah, 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 blah," right? And my son, he jumps out of his bed. He said, "Stop," because, he got real angry. And they got up in each other's face. My husband swung on him, and then they started fighting. And I started screaming, and my daughter started screaming. So it was just chaotic. Now, that was a trigger for me, watching them fight. I had to call the cops. And I said, because I didn't know what was going to happen. If I didn't call the cops to break them up, God forbid, it would have went too far. So how I prevented my trigger was I remained calm. In my mind, I just was meditating. And I wasn't going in blind fury when I called the 911 dispatcher to get the cops over here. I said, I just kept it cool, but I was in just trigger mode, just at base level. I'm not going into an episode, thank God. And even with the fight breaking out, which lasted about 10 minutes, it was really just sad, because I'm seeing, like, my daughter pulled her father out of the room. Said, "Come on, Daddy, come on." They started crying. And then he ran back in the room and charged back at my son again, like he was trying to beat him up. I mean, he drunk, he slipped and fell, because my son was just manhandling him. and wrestling him to get him to calm down. So I say this to say that something like that, an altercation in the household for somebody who has a mental disorder, will trigger something in their brain to act out. Thank God it didn't trigger me to do anything but just act and take action and call 911 to get the police to break it up. So now I'm at a crossroads where I'm trying to figure out what my next steps are. Because I know my husband, he's going to act like he's going to downplay the whole altercation. He's going to say, oh, it was just his words, spit spat. We just, he's going to downplay it and try and not come to terms with the fact that he broke up this family by making one wrong move, which was drinking too much. And that's another trigger for me, watching him spiral out of control when he's been consuming too much beers and they 32-ounce cans. So you could tell, you could do the math of how many 16 ounces of small cans of beer that he could consume in one sitting, which is a 32 ounce can of beer. He buys like 4 of them in one day. And he does it every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So he's doing at least 10 to 12 in a weekend shot. The only thing that's different before was he used to drink liquor, hardcore liquor, but now he doesn't. But it still has this drinking problem. So how do you prevent a trigger? You just go inside your head and just stay calm, stay cool, and stay collective. Then you meditate, you just go into your happy place in your mind. And for me, my happy place is being in the garden, with, watching the sunrise. And it's a beautiful summer day. It's not too hot and it's not too cold. And that's how I start to relieve the stress. Then I start to calm down. I start doing breathing exercises. I'm in touch with my breathing. And I know that when I am in touch with my breathing, I make sure that um, I'm astute with my emotions and how to keep them in control. So that's one of the tips that I have for stopping my trigger from going into a full-fledged episode, which could ultimately lead you into a full-fledged mania. And if you want me to put out some more content, which I will, I'm trying to do at least once a day to be intentional and consistent and show up for myself and make an impact on those who are in the company of me with having a mental illness / mental disorder. Just comment below, subscribe to my channel, and we'll talk soon. Take care. All right, bye-bye.